This morning, new developments in the push for a ceasefire in the war in Ukraine. Just hours from now, U.S. officials are going to be meeting for talks in Moscow after Ukraine agreed to a 30-day pause in the war. But a senior aide to Putin dismissed the proposal yesterday, saying it's nothing more than a, quote, temporary respite for Ukrainian forces. Now, meantime, Putin's top aide says the Russian leader has not ruled out a meeting with President Trump's special envoy for later today. NBC's Richard Engel spoke to a Ukrainian soldier about the prospect of a ceasefire.
Are Ukrainian troops ready for a ceasefire?
Yes, we are ready, says Andriy, a former cook whose wife and daughter are refugees abroad.
Everyone is waiting to see if Putin will also agree. What do you expect?
Russia's commitments are not worth the paper they are printed on, he said.
Richard Engel's interview with a soldier in Ukraine. Joining us this morning, Richard Haass, President Emeritus of the Council on Foreign Relations. Richard, great seeing you. Do you see any possibility that Russia could accept this ceasefire?
At the moment, no. Russia's plans are much more ambitious. They want to impose all sorts of conditions on Ukraine. The real question, quite honestly, Jose, is how does the United States react to the Russian position? To what extent do we carry Putin's water for him? To what extent do we push back? And the best way to push back is make clear that U.S. support for Ukraine will be ongoing. And that means military support and intelligence support. And by doing that, we would disabuse Putin of his assumption that time is on his side.
So the United States seems to have done just that, right? Secretary of State Rubio saying that with Waltz saying that they are going to reestablish military supplies and sharing of intelligence, which is so critical for the Ukrainians. I'm just wondering, Richard, so in a process as it is right now, with 3 years into an invasion, what is it that the rest of the world, or if you look at just the United States as being maybe the strongest in a potential position to have an impact, what is it that the United States should be doing that they haven't done in the last 30 days and in the last 4 years and 30 days?
I think the best thing we could be doing, again, is to signal to Russia that we are going to stand by a fair ceasefire. And all these Russian positions are going to be unacceptable, the kind of thing Russia should be allowed to put forward when it comes to a formal peace, the final status talks. But for the time being, they have no place, and we're not going to impose or support such conditions being imposed on Ukraine. And it's good, as you say, that we've reestablished intelligence and military support. But what worries me is we might also be tempted to shut it down again. So again, I think the most important thing is what Steve Witkoff says or comes back with and how President Trump reacts to it. Do we basically say that Russian conditions are unacceptable and we are going to support Ukraine? Are we prepared to say, yeah, we're prepared to, we'll essentially support anything Putin wants in order to get peace? And that, to me, is the big operational diplomatic question here.
Yeah, and I want to go to Ukraine now. That's where Richard Engel is. And Richard, we were just watching your interview with a soldier essentially in the front line saying that Putin's word and whatever he has is not worth the paper it's printed on. How are people reacting there in Ukraine, Richard, to the possibility of some respite?
So it goes back to the conversation you were just having with Richard Haass. There's a fundamental decision here about fairness, and Ukrainians understand diplomacy. Ukrainians understand that President Trump is trying to push this peace initiative, and they felt the wrath of President Trump. They saw when President Zelensky was invited to Washington, was in the Oval Office, and was attacked, humiliated by President Trump and Vice President Vance. And then this country had military support suspended, had intelligence sharing suspended. So they felt the stick. And what they're worried now is that Vladimir Putin is only going to get the carrots. They think that President Trump has some sort of special fondness for Vladimir Putin. They think that Vladimir Putin is able to play President Trump, and they worry that President Trump has this all mixed up, that he is asking that the victim of an assault make all the concessions and that the aggressor be rewarded for potentially stopping to carry out its attacks against this country. Many Ukrainians are very worried about their future, and you could see that in the conversations that I've been having with government officials. They don't want to talk about Trump. I asked them about Trump. They change the subject. They just say, we want to abide by the peace agreement. We are following the Americans' plan. The soldiers saying the same thing today. We will follow whatever the government says. We don't want to be perceived as an obstacle to peace. So the government, the military, they're nervous. But when you talk to Ukrainian people, civilians who are at more liberty to speak because they don't necessarily feel that their words are going to bring an immediate temper tantrum from President Trump, they tell you how frustrated they are, how sickened they are that they who didn't invade Russia are being the ones so far that are facing the toughest sanctions from President Trump.
And Richard Haass, Secretary of State Rubio, is discussing ceasefire with foreign ministers at the G7 meeting right now. We remember that right after that blow up at the White House, at the Oval Office between Zelensky and the president and the vice president, Europe convened an emergency meeting in Paris. Nothing really came out of that. Is Europe still in this, in your opinion, Richard, an important player in this?
Sure. Europe's not in a position to take our place. They don't have the inventories of arms. They don't have the intelligence they could share. They don't have the defense industries. They could make a difference, but they can't one for one replace the United States. But they will do something to help Ukraine. They understand that Ukraine's security is directly related to their own. And also, I think the bigger question for Europe, or the longer term question, at least, Jose, will be what lessons Europe takes from all this. And essentially what we're seeing is a post-NATO Europe. We're beginning to see the conversations that will lead to a Europe that no longer depends on the United States because it's lost confidence in the United States and no longer trusts the United States.